Alright everybody, now we got Magneto, the Master of Magnetism. Is one of the best beginner characters in Marvel Rivals, and the character that I would recommend new players when they start learning the game. He's a Vanguard, which means it's his job to be on the front lines, pushing through the enemy team. He does enough damage to be threatening, while having major defensive abilities to stay alive longer, and when he's backed up by a strategist, it's really hard to take him down. Unlike other Vanguards, Magneto doesn't really have to fully commit to be maximum effectiveness, and he can also do so at range. This is where he's a great learner character, because you don't always have to get yourself into sticky situations to be effective. Having awareness of where your strategists are at and staying near them to be able to protect them is where Magneto does very well. And you're encouraged to do that playstyle when playing as this Vanguard, but for other Vanguards, it feels better to just go and dive into the enemy team, which leaves your strategist more vulnerable, and his moderate range and very straightforward abilities. Magneto is a great starter character for this game. Now, let's talk about his basic attack. It has a decent amount of shots before it needs to be reloaded, and it does a small burst at maximum range, which makes sure that hits that almost hit the target still are able to deal damage. His right-click ability is a much more higher burst of damage, and how much damage it deals is going to depend on how big the ring behind him has gotten throughout the game. The ring behind him is going to go between 4 different stages. No ring, a small single layer, 2 layers, and then a final black outer layer. At that 4th power level, his right-click ability is quite potent, dealing about 1/3 of most targets' health at maximum charge. His right-click ability also knocks the target back and does a small amount of CC, interrupting their abilities. I highly recommend using this ability as a more of an execute to be able to take out low health targets, than as an initiation tool which could easily be healed off. Both his left-click and right-click abilities do have a travel delay that's quite noticeable. Learning how to lead your targets and being able to shoot slightly ahead of where they're going is really important to actually landing your damage at maximum range, where his basic ability has a maximum range of about 25 meters, including a little explosion at the end. His right click has no limits, and you're able to hit anybody from a distance as long as they're standing still. His defensiveness is very straightforward. His shift ability puts up a one-directional shield that blocks all incoming ranged attacks, even ultimates, standing between you and them, and putting the shield up makes sure that your team can shoot through it and deal damage to the enemy, while you fully negate all incoming damage from the other side. His other ability is to put out a shield he can either use on you, or he could use on himself. Both of these shields act the same way. They are a short duration, full invulnerability, and both abilities share a cooldown. So you're not going to be able to put up a shield on multiple targets. You're gonna have to wait, make a decision of if you need to protect an ally or you need to defend yourself. When somebody gets onto you as Magneto, using this ability once you get about half health and making sure your strategists are able to top you off is really potent. So don't panic and use it right away when you're at maximum health, and your healers would need to be able to top you off. Any damage you're receiving, you want to use this once your health has gotten a little bit lower. When you jump off high points as Magneto, you can hold down the spacebar to slow down your descent. Playing as Magneto teaches a couple of core skills to the game. First, better aim. He's one of the few Vanguards that requires decent aim, as he's not doing melee attacks, and he is shooting out a projectile. Second is healer awareness, because he doesn't have to get all the way onto the enemy backline to feel fully effective. You're able to stay near your strategist and be able to have a little bit of more awareness of where they're at. New players should have team awareness and know where their team is, and this Vanguard works a lot better at cultivating that skill. And it's easier to keep track of your entire team. Finally, enemy damage output. Magneto specializes in negating enemy damage and being able to know when your enemy team is going to be dealing their maximum amount of damage is a great way to use his abilities effectively. And you're going to feel highly rewarded when you're able to pull that off. This encourages you to learn enemy timings, and you'll feel better playing this character once you've gotten a better grasp over what the enemy character can do. All these skills are what you need to cultivate to be an effective Marvel Rivals player. So this is a definite major pickup character for anybody trying to get into this game. So Magneto does have a basic melee attack, but I don't really recommend using it. You'll do a sword slash in front of you, but it's rather slow and doesn't have any effective hitbox. Magneto's ultimate ability allows you to raise up into the air and begin absorbing all ranged attacks that come at your allies within the purple circle around you. All these attacks will flow into you and fill into the orb that you're channeling above you. The little orb shows up in the center of your screen, showing you how much energy is channeling onto the orb at the end of the cast. Or when you click, you release the orb forward and it explodes on contact, dealing AoE damage in a massive area. It'll deal more damage the more shots you're able to absorb while you're levitating in this mode. You can hold down the space key to keep going upwards if you want to gain a nice aerial view, but it's going to reduce the amount of shots that you're able to absorb, staying close to your enemy's attacks to make sure that you get the most powerful meteor you can get when you activate this ability. Try to aim past your enemy tanks and onto the backline. This could be a one-shot KO to several backliners if you can get it to about 35 to 40 power worth of charging it up. Magneto is more effective when Scarlet Witch, his adoptive daughter, is in the fray with him. When both characters are on the same team, they get a team up and Magneto gets a new special ability. When activating the C key, his basic attack turns into a sword slash and a magical sonic boom slash effect that goes quite a distance and a large hitbox. It also increases the damage his basic attack drastically. When this ability is up, you can usually 3-shot most strategists or duelists that you just feel very effective to be able to use it, has a relatively low cooldown, and a very potent. Magneto probably overall 20% stronger when Scarlet Witch is on the same team, and that's a significant boost. Utilizing effective team-ups is really important. So if you see a Scarlet Witch on your team, it can really be rewarding to just lock in Magneto once you've got a few dozen games under your belt. Alrighty, everyone. Well, that's going to be it for Magneto, and I hope you guys learned something from this guide, and I hope it makes you a better player for your teammates. Until next time, deuces.